I'm Jeanette Grunfeld, née Marx. I was born in Germany in June 4th, 1921, in Cologne, where my family lived for hundreds of years. And I was an only child. My mother's name was Marianne Seligman, and my father's name was Friedrich Solomon Marx. My mother's name was called Jenny, and my father was Sally, and my name is Jeanette. But because they didn't want the same name, so they called me the German translation. I'm named after my grandmother, who passed away when my mother was 12, Jeanette, so they called me Honey at home. We had a maid. My father had two businesses. One arranged but not too far away from Cologne. It's called the Vorgebirge. We had 6 people working there for us, and a cook and a maid. But my mother was born in Cologne. She didn't want to move, so he opened up a cattle insurer at the cattle market. Besides the business, we employed a couple of people there too. And so my mother didn't have to move, went back and forth, like it wasn't that far, like 30, 40 miles, you know, to Cologne and Weiler's a Klein Furnish, where his ranch was. We had a lot of employees. We did very well. And my father was a World War I veteran. He was decorated too. And his younger brother was in Reichstag. That means like being a member of parliament, or what do you call it, a congressman. And when 1932-33, when he knew Hitler was coming in, he said, I think Hitler's going to win. I have to leave with my wife because they're going to kill me otherwise. Sell your business, he told my father.
This was what year?
33.
33?
Yeah, when he came in, before Hitler, just before Hitler was, he knew Hitler was coming in. I mean, after all, he was, you know,
I remember when he
in Reichstag,
became
you know. Yeah, Hindenburg became the chancellor.
Yeah, okay.
And he called my father, sell your business, put the money in the Swiss bank and get out. Well, my father said, you're crazy. I'm a World War I veteran. Our family here for hundreds of years. We came back to the 12th century. Originally, in the Rhineland, the Jews came in with the Romans to Cologne. We had the first congregation, 70 AD already, Jewish congregation there. But the Romans would build towers and a wall around the city, and the Jews lived behind the city. It was Judenstrasse, called, where the Jews lived, but they were the accountants.
Yeah.
And my mother's family was very wealthy, and my father's family was okay too, but they were more intellectual. My grandmother had 3 brothers. They all had doctors. One was a psychiatrist, and the first one opened a clinic for children, retarded children, so they should learn to read and write and do things. And the other one was a rabbi, also a doctorate, and the other was a college professor. So you see how far we had educated people, you know. My parents both had college degrees.
Were any of them religious?
Yeah, my father's side, my grandmother's 3 brothers were very religious. And every time they came, my mother served everything on glass for them, and only milkshake. And fish and stuff, because we weren't that religious. She was 12 when she lost her mother, and she was the youngest, and they couldn't get a Jewish housekeeper. They only got Goyish housekeeper. So my grandfather sent her to Switzerland to be educated. But I mean, she knew Hebrew. She could read Hebrew and everything. And Yom Tov is Yom Tov, and Shabbos is Shabbos. But we didn't keep a strictly kosher home. And all the holidays with our family and my father's family over at night. So for Seder, we had everybody, for Rosh Hashanah, for Yom Kippur, some Anbais, and you know. We always had them in our house. She was the youngest, my father was the oldest in the family. Only had one grandmother, my father's mother I knew, and I was very fond of her. And she died at our house on my 6th birthday.
How old was she?
72. I went to school, said goodbye to her. She gave me my present. When I came home, she was gone. But the only grandmother I had no, the others were all deceased before, you know. But I have a very loving family, and we had lots of friends and everything. And before Hitler, we didn't know anything about anti-Semitism because I was the only Jewish kid in the whole Catholic school, but I had to go twice a week. The Jewish kids, they went either to Catholic school or Protestant school. The Jewish school was all the way downtown, and it was too far to get there. But we had to go to religious instructions twice a week from all the, all the schools around where the Jewish kids went, from the suburb where I lived. So,
did the other students or kids that you went to school with, did they know you were Jewish?
Oh, sure, they knew I was Jewish. And when the preacher came once a week to give them religious instruction, he called my mother and asked if I could stay, I could learn. But I'm not going to, he says, I'm not proselytized, he says. Because my mother knew his mother, because we come from Cologne, We can go back to the 12th century. Originally, the Jews came with the Romans. So my father was we had people working for us, and they were all Christians, but Christmas, they invited us to their house to see the Christmas trees and everything, and we had a good relationship with them. The ones who worked for him at the ranch, and the ones who worked for him at the insurance company. He didn't raise cattle, he bought it and sold it. And that time when I was little, we had the English Army of Occupation there. And it helped me in one way. But let me say, first, when Hitler came, they came and beat my father up so badly because of the business they wanted, that he was paralyzed. So we couldn't get out anymore.
This was, again, what year was that?
Wait a minute. I was 14. I was 14.
You were 14.
36. About 36.
1936?
Yeah, 1936. Oh. And what happened was, they took the businesses away and everything we couldn't do. Thank God we had some money left, to live on it. And then we couldn't keep the maid anymore because, I wasn't allowed to. And we had also somebody comes do the heavy work, during the week, things like this, do the laundry, different laundress and everything. In Germany it was like this. The maid didn't have to do the laundry. Like a special woman came and did that, And then we were very lucky. The hairdresser used to come in the evening when it was dark to our house after Hitler was killed, because we couldn't go there anymore. So he cut my father's hair, he did my mother, he cut my hair, and nobody knew that anybody came. And I had one Christian friend, she was very nice. She used to, after I left, she used to go shopping for my parents, and then she couldn't do it anymore. And we used to have a lot of Christian friends, and all of a sudden, one of our best friends, the kids called my father uncle and aunt, and I called the woman aunt and her husband uncle, because we were that close. In those days, there was also respect, you didn't say the first name, you call them uncle and aunt if you're very close. And all of a sudden, the kids they joined the Hitler Youth. So she called up my mother, I can't come anymore. He told the Hitler Youth, we have Jewish friends.
Oh, wow.
So, but she told us when she knew the Kristallnacht were coming. So she called my mother, take Sally, that's my father, and take Honey, and go to the Jewish hospital, because my father was paralyzed, so we could do that,
Was that when
Jewish hospital in Cologne. Huh?
He went to the hospital.
Yeah, he was beaten up before that, because he was paralyzed.
How long did it take for him to recover from being beaten up?
Well, he was paralyzed until he died. Because he got a stroke with his head, they beat him.
When he was beaten up, that's when he got the stroke.
Yeah. So we went to the hospital, and she says, go there, I'll let you know when you come back, when everything is over. So thank God we were safe, but they stole a lot of our stuff from the apartment. And what are you going to do? You make the best you can. Then we had to move from the apartment, but my uncle had an apartment house, and they didn't take that away from him, so we could move there. But from a big apartment, we had a 2-bedroom, from a 3-bedroom apartment, there was a library and everything in the house. We had a 1-bedroom apartment and a kitchen, and the bathroom was outside.
What a change.
What a change, yeah. What can you do? And then came, after that was just after the Kristallnacht. Then came the Kristallnacht, and then my father said to me, my parents sent me to France first, and I'm an only child.
I think that was 1938, wasn't it, the Kristallnacht?
Yeah, they sent me to France in 36 to go to school and everything. But I'm an only child, I missed my parents, we were very close. I came home.
Yeah.
So, and Cologne is not far from France. So then, after Christmas, my father says, you have to go now. Because I sent you to England, that's across the river, and you know, when everything is well again, you come back. So they said, and I was too old actually for the Kindertransport, and they paid double to get me there, you know.
Yeah.
So I went to England, and it wasn't easy. I went to work right away. Oh, another thing, they threw me out of high school, I was the only kid, like I said, in a public school. But in public school in Germany, after 4 years, you take a test. And if you make the test, you can go to high school, but it's private, you pay for it. And if you don't make the test, you continue eight years and go to trade school. So I went to all-girl high school called Lyceum. And we had one teacher there. All of a sudden, there was only 2 Jewish girls. The other husband, her father was an attorney, and my father. So she says, the Jews are cowards. She was an anti-Semite. They're cowards.
They say they were cowards.
The Jews are all cowards and everything. So I ran out of the school, got all the citations my father got from World War I off the wall, went back to school, and said, you're a liar, Dr. Koritz. Because all the teachers in the high schools, because they were all private, had a doctorate. I said, here, my father's first, the Iron Cross and all the decorations he got. So the principal called my mother and called me upstairs to see her. And she says to me, you know, I tell you something, honey. You did very well, but don't tell anybody, otherwise I'll lose my job. You did the right thing, but you can't stay anymore. So I had to go to Yeshiva High School downtown, which was a big difference. But I knew Hebrew and everything anyway, but there I had to learn Ivrit. But one thing is, in the Yeshiva High School, girls sit on one side, boys on the other side, and when you want to ask a question, they didn't let you, about religion, about when you learned about the Bible and everything, the Torah, they didn't let the girls ask questions. And I got somebody that said, look, my parents pay the same as the boys do for getting educated here. I want to be able to ask a question too. I had chutzpah, no? And then I went to England, and I worked first then they decided, the parents decided in Yeshiva High School that the kids should learn a trade because of Hitler, besides just getting an education, so in case they have to leave that they can go to work. So I learned dressmaking besides the curriculum. We were there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. We had to learn French and German, English. Unfortunately, I only had 1 year of English and 5 years of French.
So you spoke French and German fluently?
Not fluently, but French. I spoke German fluently. I was educated in Germany.
Right.
And English, my mother spoke perfect English, so that was okay. So then I went to England. I went to work in Bond Street right away. Then I stayed with the family used to come and visit us from England because my mother spoke English, we had English friends. They weren't very nice to me. They didn't give me, I got there January the 18th, they didn't give me a blanket to cover me or anything. So the girls I worked with says, I know somebody, I rent out rooms. I didn't make much money, but enough just to, to pay for that. And my lunch was, at Lions, was 2 slices of toast and spaghetti. It was the cheapest. I think it was tuppence. Or the next day, spaghetti on toast. And water. And she says, I know something. When I went there was a couple, and every time I wanted to get washed to take a bath, the husband came in, so I had to move there. And then somebody said, I know an old lady, she needs somebody just to keep her company. You can go to work, do what you have to do, just help a little bit. She's very well-to-do, and she just needs somebody. The sons don't want her to be on her own. So I went to move in with her, and I went to work. And I helped a little bit cooking and a little bit cleaning. I learned things I didn't learn at home. And in September, I went to work in the morning. The war broke out in '39. And I came back home, and my suitcase was with the doorman. She didn't give me any money or anything. I wasn't making that much, you know. So I had an aunt, she became a housekeeper, and I called her, and she says to me, you know what? I have friends, go to them. I pay for the cab, they pay for everything, and I pay until that you can stay there. Because I couldn't work anymore. I was an enemy alien because I became 18 while I was there. I came to England in January, and in June I became 18. So I had to go in front of a judge. So I go in front of a judge. The judge says to me, what's your name? Jeanette Marks. He says, no, your name is Honey, because they called me Honey. He says, what's your mother's name? Marianne. No, your mother's name is Jenny. I started to shake. What's your father's name? Salomon Friedrich. No, his name is Sully. He says, don't worry. He was there with the Army of Occupation. He was in charge of buying horses. He bought all the horses for my father, because my mother spoke perfect English. She was educated in Switzerland. So she and his wife became good friends. He used to come to our house in our ranch in the country, and he used to come to the apartment in the city. So he says, I used to sit on his lap. I couldn't remember. He says, I know who you are. It's all right. You can go to work again. And then they opened up a hostel for girls like me. And I went to the hostel. I had my uncle lived there, but they weren't very nice. They had never children. One was in Parliament in Reichstag in Germany. And after the war, he helped with Marshall and Bevan to build up Germany. And I was mad at him, but I think he did the right thing in a way. So then I went, then I joined the ambulance service, because I wanted to get back at Hitler. So I could go to work, so I asked him, can I join the ambulance service? Yes, but I was doing expert work, and I had to get permission from the owner of the place where I was working. So I told him, I want to do it part-time only. I was lying to him. I didn't want I don't like sewing, but I had to make a living, to be able to eat. So I joined the ambulance service in the East End, which was the worst part, right on the docks. All women's station, 12 of us. I was the only foreigner. We had Aussies there, we had ladies there, and we had Cockneys there. And I was the only foreigner. And because of an accent, and everybody asked me where you come from, and I explained, I'm Jewish and this and this. And one of the Aussies said to me, you know, Jeanette, you have a French name, you speak French. Say you're French, nobody knows the difference here.
You're not Jewish, that you're French.
No, it doesn't matter. Jewish, that didn't make. I wasn't a Jewish district anyway. I was Jewish in the poverty, Petticoat Lane, near there. And everybody treated me different. I was Frenchy.
Frenchy.
So it wasn't easy with the bombs falling and everything, but we did the best we could.
How long did you do that?
Until the war was finished.
So it was 38?
No, I started in 40. I couldn't join. I had to first become pass my test that I was an enemy alien.
Yeah.
Wasn't easy.
No. Wow.
So I stayed in the hostel until I left, And I went to work, We had 48 hours on and 24 hours off at the ambulance station, and became good friends. When I joined it, we had Lady Della was our officer in charge, and she was stupid in a way.
She was what?
She took white gloves to clean the engine of the car if it was dusty. I mean, we didn't have always time. When you have bombings and everything, you don't have time to do all that. Then we got a very nice officer. She was an ex-teacher, and she was really terrific. And the girls were all very nice to me. Even one of the ladies invited us when we had a vacation to stay in her castle. So I did the best I could. After the war, and I did voluntary work. There was a community center nearby our station in the East End. I used to help the kids learn how to read, write, do math and everything when they came, you know. And I came friendly with the director of the center, and I wanted to do that kind of work afterwards. But every time I didn't want to go back to sewing. I didn't like sewing. So they asked me, are you naturalized? Are you this? I said, look, I was an ambulance driver. I'm not naturalized. I want to become naturalized when I get a chance. So I couldn't get the job. Director wanted to give me the job, and she said, you qualify, you know everything, and you know how to treat the kids the right way. But so I wrote my cousin in the States, sent me an affidavit. So in 46, I came to the States. That was in June.
Where did you leave from?
From London. From the hostel, I went and I came with 3 other girls who were in the hostel with me on the boat, you know, on the Norway.
Yeah.
And my cousin's wife picked me up at Ellis Island, and they got me, one of the girls was with me in the hostel. She was here before, in New York before me. She got me a room with a lady in the Washington Heights, where most of the German Jews were. So I got a furnished room, and I went to work right away. I got my green card, and I was very lucky in the hostel because I had to go to Shiva High School, and my grandfather was one of the founders of the big synagogue, but it was Orthodox. And not that we were Orthodox, but I liked the Reform better. So I used to go, when we went to shul, I used to say, I'm going, when I was old enough, I went to Reform one. And I liked the rabbi very much. He used to teach it also when we went at our Yeshiva High School once in a while. And he came to do the service at the hostel. And when he saw me, he was so happy that him and his wife invited me for Shabbos dinner. And when I came to New York, I was sitting to get my Social Security card. The first person I met, I was in New York at the library at the stairs with my girlfriend who came with me from England. The first person I met was the rabbi. And then she got me a room, my friend got me a room with a German couple. But the woman said to me, I don't like girls, look for something else. So I said to Mrs. Mann, where are you from? She says, from Mainz. So I told her, my mother comes from Mainz. And I told her about my mishpucha. And she said she can stay. Who they were. She knew them, he knew how rich they were and everything. So I stayed there. And then my husband was painting. He says, there's a nice Jewish young man here. He's painting the house. Introduced me to him and I got married.
How long? From the day you met him to
I
the day
married
you got
6
married?
weeks.
What?
6 weeks.
6 weeks? That's got to be a record.
And I was engaged to a guy in England, and I sent him a Dear John letter. Well, it was love at first sight.
Oh, that's great.
We had to live with his parents because he bought a house for his parents. He was also a war veteran. He served in North Africa, Sicily, and Italy. Then he came to the States to go to the South Pacific. The war was over. Wow. Thank God for that.
So you were how old when you got married?
26.
26, and how old was he?
Same age.
Same age.
A few months younger. I'm not a younger man. Want me to show you his pictures over there?
Yeah, I could get it.
Yeah. What's it on for?
So, well, I don't know which one to take.
The big one. And the one underneath.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. That's my wedding picture. My husband was Czech-Hungarian. When he was born, when his father was born, I mean, his family...
I'm going to get a picture of that. I think I get in closer. Oh, I got it. Look like a happy bridal couple.
We were very happy. We had 2 children, son and a daughter, a year apart. And we had a wonderful life together, and then he got very sick, and the doctor said, 1 more year in New York, you're not going to make it.
When did he get sick?
Let me see, it's 80. He was 50 years old, so.
What kind of sickness did he have?
He hurt his back.
On the job?
Yeah. And they had a kidney operation before then. He was a diabetic, so they couldn't operate. They were afraid to. So we had to stop working. And my son was here in Arizona already. He's a chiropractic physician. So we came out here. And I'm glad I did, because I like it here. I'm here 30 years now. We sold the house and everything, and that's it. And here, you want to see some of this?
Yeah, hold it up.
This is when I was in the ambulance service. That's my ambulance. This goes this way, sorry.
Yeah, hold it up.
See all the debris in it?
But you in the ambulance service, and you were there again? How many years did you do that?
4.
4 years. Right till 45.
To the end.
From 40?
From 40 to 45,
yeah.
Because I couldn't join before. I was an enemy alien.
Hold it up. I'm going to see if I can get that other one.
After the judge says I'm okay.
Yeah, I could get these pictures separately. But
You want them closer?
yeah, put this
Oh, you want to take them?
Yeah, I could take these pictures, I think, separately.
Okay. You want me in my working outfit too, no? My fatigues.
I'll get the pictures later.
And after the war, I passed the test to be an interpreter for the Americans and a driver, because I was in the service and I was I was a medic and everything, and I was a driver. So I came up with
This was in England?
Yeah, for the American. But then a friend of mine survived at Auschwitz, and he wrote to me that my parents my mother didn't make it. It doesn't know why my father died. They don't know what happened. And all about my family, so I figured I don't want to go back to Germany.
Wait, tell me, to back up a little. Tell me again about your mother.
My mother died in Auschwitz, he said. So I didn't want to go back. There was nobody there. Her sister died there, and her brother died there. So my mother's family, everybody got killed in Auschwitz.
And your father?
And my father's family, I'm sorry. My father's family, because they listened to my uncle, Benno, they all left Germany, except for my father. They went to my uncle. The youngest one was in Belgium, in hiding, and he got my father's insurance business back afterwards. I said he was in business with him, which he never was. So he got a. I only got a few $1,000s for the ranch, and he got 4 times as much for the insurance business, and he got the business back.
Oh wow.
But thank God, he lived back in Germany, the youngest brother, he was in Belgium in hiding. And my other uncle helped Bevan, I told you, Bevan and General Marshall to build up Germany again. And him and his wife lived in Germany too.
That's good.
But he was a big shot, my uncle.
He was a big shot where?
He was a big shot in Germany. He was a big
shot,
because he was like a congressman, And in England, he worked for the government. I didn't know what he did, but he had a beautiful home and everything. But he wasn't too friendly to me.
I wonder why.
His wife. I think, because when my aunt afterwards divorced, she opened a restaurant, and she had her own business in Germany already, but she had to be a housekeeper because she was a refugee, you know, when she first came to England. It was fun. She opened a restaurant. I worked in a restaurant, and then when I left, she made a party for me. She invited my uncle, and I had a long talk with him. He says to me, "I didn't know you were that smart." I says, "Look, the apple doesn't fall from the tree."
Oh, very good. It's true.
I stayed with them 2 nights when the maid was off, and then he complained to my aunt, his sister, that I ate too much. There was a couple of slices of bread left and some cold cuts. I was 18 years old. I was hungry.
You had a good appetite, sure.
No, but there was nothing there in the house. They went to eat out all the time. She was a very famous dancer in Germany. Her parents were much nicer. Her father worked for the Kaiser. He was the one who bought all the presents for and for the people the Kaiser entertained, you know. So she was half. Her father was Jewish, but they christened him when he was born, so she was half Jewish anyway. So the parents had to get out because he was born Jewish.
Yeah.
But she wasn't very nice. But I never had any kids, so I had to. I'm glad that I stayed in the hostel. But it's a shame, you know, when you're the only kid there. Because from my father's side, there were only 2. The youngest daughter had a daughter. Her father was a dentist in Dortmund. And me, the oldest son, had a daughter. It was me. My grandmother only 2 grandchildren. Like I have now 2 grandchildren, 2 grandsons. And I was very close, but my aunt's husband had double citizenship. He came from Latvia. So all of a sudden the Nazis wanted
from Latvia?
Latvia. Oh. But he studied in Germany. He had his practice in Dortmund, you know. And my aunt had a business in Dortmund too, my father's sister.
What did she do?
She had a restaurant and a hotel.
Oh.
It's more like a pension where people lived, but they went to work, you know. And so they used to go. I was very close with my cousin, and then when Hitler came, he had to live. There was a hiding place in his house because he was a dentist. You know, if you're a doctor, they wanted to hurt him. But thank God, he came to our place to Köln, and my mother went with him to Holland to see the ambassador, the Latvian ambassador. And he went back with them. They can't touch him. He's a Latvian. And then he went back to Riga, moved to Riga with his family, and opened a practice there. Then the war broke out, and he went to they had to go to Russia. And then afterwards, because doctors and dentists and everything, my cousin became a dentist, they were in a concentration camp there. And my uncle had connection because he was in Weissach in Germany and made connections in England when he was there. So he got them out of Russia into Germany. We sent him an affidavit, but they wanted to stay there. So my cousin became the interpreter for the courts there in Russian and German and English. And she was, after she made the school district dentist. And then her husband, well, my husband died before her husband. When her husband passed away, her 2 kids went to Israel. They went to college first to Israel. And the son became an ambassador, one of the youngest one in Israel, to Germany, because he spoke German and English, you know, and Hebrew. And the daughter writes for a paper. They're married, they have children.
How many children?
The daughter has 3 and the son has 2. And the daughter's still alive. I call her once in a while, and she came to visit me when she still lived in Germany with her daughter and son when they were younger, a couple of times, once in New York and once here. And when my grandchildren went to Israel, they went to see them, and one of my grandsons went twice, both of them twice. The second one, the younger one, went again on his own, but didn't have a good time, so he stayed with my cousin.
Who came from Riga?
Her father. He was he was married to my father's younger sister.
Because some friends of ours visited Riga, and they had quite a history.
And not only this, she had a nursemaid. I mean, and the woman was with them for years, and she wanted to come to Riga with them when they left. And I found out she was working for the Germans afterwards.
Oh.
That's how life is.
Yeah.
I remember very well, and never thought about that, you know, that you changed that much.
You had quite an experience, I tell you. But you were lucky to survive.
Oh, I'm very lucky. I mean, out of 12 girls, we lost 4.
Wow.
I got hit on the head, on my helmet once, saw the ambulance, a shrapnel from a anti-aircraft. I had a headache for 2 months, but it didn't bother them. Then I broke my finger. They never straightened it out.
Your finger?
Yeah, but one of the ambulances was a very heavy guy we had on the stretcher, and we nearly lost him. And it was so hard that he fell, but they didn't straighten it out. I had it set, but I had to go to work though. It was
you had to work with a broken finger.
Yeah.
Oh, but you wear a helmet on the job.
Oh yeah.
And the helmet might have saved your life.
It did save my life. It went right through the window of my helmet, and I got such a headache. But you still had to go back to work.
Wow.
Those days you had no time to be sick. There weren't enough people to help, you know, when you had the raids on. Then we had the doodle box, and we had the V2s who came over.
So your job as an ambulance driver was to pick up what wounded
or the dead, and I didn't like to pick up the dead ones. I didn't like to go to the mortuary, but they found me out. They says, Frenchie, are they okay? I says, they're okay when I brought the ambulance to the hospital, because I had to, you sure they're not dead? Talk to them. I made sure. Before that, they found me out. I delivered them as alive. I had to go to the mortuary, you know.
So you picked up some dead people?
Well, we had to pick up everybody. And then when there was no radar...
How many did you load in your truck?
4. See, here.
Let's see.
4 stretchers. And we slept behind the ambulances. The English were so smart, they built above the ground shelter for us at the station, and underneath was the gasoline, so we couldn't, when there was we slept behind the ambulances.
Yeah, I'm going to take some pictures of some of these.
You want to take the original ones?
Huh?
I got the original ones too, little ones.
What, little pictures?
The same ones, yeah. I taught you from the kindertons, but they made those for me. They took smaller ones. And the girl who wrote the book about me made me next size, you know. So I have only the original ones I have in my purse. Because sometimes people don't believe I'm, you know. Here's another one like this. And I sent my kids some.
So these are the same ones, a little smaller.
I don't have too many. We didn't have...
I'm going to take a couple of these.
Okay.
Right, let's see, are we...
That is my fatigues. That's my ambulance. I just finished cleaning it up.
Power.
Okay.
Now, let's start...
I came from London to here.
You had the right paperwork to come.
Well, I had 2 cousins who sent me the affidavit. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to come.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You needed the proper paperwork before you could even come here.
That's right. And then I came, and 3 other girls who were in the hospitals, we shared a cabin. And I came to Ellis Island, and the boat landed on a Sunday, but the foreigners couldn't get off. They had to wait until Monday when they opened up Ellis Island for us to get off the boat. And then I got my Social Security card. And then I went to look for a job. And a friend of mine who was with me in the hospital.
You were staying with who?
Strangers. I rented a room.
I thought you had family in...
Well, my cousin was married, you know, I couldn't live with him, and the other one was in Alabama.
Okay.
And so I took a room with the also German family, Jewish family. They come from Mainz. I stayed with them, and then I arrived on Monday. Wednesday I went for my Social Security card. Friday I went to work already. I needed the money.
Well, you were lucky there was a job available for you.
Well, I was very good at sewing, and I became one of the sample makers, for
so sewing was your
designer. Huh?
Sewing.
Well, because they were smart enough, my parents, besides the curriculum, as I said before, that the girls learned and the boys learned the trade at the Yeshiva High School. Besides the being smart, they wanted us to learn the trade in case we have to leave, which that's how I made a living always. And I don't like to sew, but I made a living that way. I did the best I could.
Important. If you didn't know how to sew, you would have been in trouble.
I would have had to do housework. And I wasn't used to housework either. We always had a maid, And I worked in Bonsall, which is a very fancy place, They only made clothes for the high society.
Oh.
It wasn't a factory, it was private, She employed a lot of people, but it was for the high society. After the war, I worked in the factory on uniforms, then I worked for factory, did export. But I couldn't work, and I lived in a hostel, I said that before already, right?
Yeah.
And then when I could, I joined the ambulance service.
What town is that again?
Huh?
The town?
London. I stayed in London all the time.
This was,
I lived in Belzers Park in the hostel. That's near Golders Green. And Swiss Cottage, the suburb. And I worked, when I was an ambulance driver, I worked volunteered for the East End, which was the worst part, right by the docks, and where the worst bombing was always.
Wow.
But I wanted to get back at Hitler.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing I could get back at, join. A lot of the Jewish girls who were my age, and boys, they joined the services or something.
That was a good idea. Yeah.
But
so when you came to Ellis Island, you found an apartment in
a room.
A room.
A room with the family. Also originally came from Mainz.
It's New York.
In New York, yeah. Also refugees. They owned a factory in Mainz. They're very uppity. When I told my when I found out she came from Mainz, and told her about my family. My grandmother came from Mainz, and I told the relatives I still had living there before Hitler and everything. She knew where I came from, and I was okay. Because they were very wealthy too, so then she let me stay there. And she introduced it to my husband too.
Oh, he's the one who introduced you to your husband?
Yeah.
With the short engagement.
Yeah.
So you lived in there until you moved to...
Well, first we lived with you couldn't get an apartment in New York, so I lived with my in-laws, but my husband gave my father-in-law to buy the house anyway, and he never asked for it back, so we had nothing when we started.
Oh.
So he paid for the house for my in-laws. And then we got an apartment, and then we saved enough money to buy our own house.
And how long were you in your own house?
30 years.
Where, you mean here?
No, there too.
30 years in New York?
I was 30 years in New York. I was 28 years or 20. The house was paid up already when we came out here.
And you came here because of for your
My husband, helped. And he lived another 13 years. And he was very active at the synagogue, and he was active in the Jewish war veterans and the Masons, and politically and everything.
You mean in Phoenix?
Yeah, in Phoenix. Well, he was active in New York, but here, we didn't know anybody when we came.
Was he part of Jewish war veterans in New York?
Yeah, sure. And he was on committees and everything, And then my daughter moved to Denver, and he opened up a new post there. Helped them there to open up. So we had to do something. I helped out in the synagogue and everything too. But I stopped working when I had the kids, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I was very active in school, in the synagogue always, you know. I was told you have to belong, even though I'm not kosher or anything, but I always belong and I still belong.
That's good.
I still go every Shabbos to shul.
Good. So your husband lived in Phoenix until, and this is
He
when
had cancer,
died.
Yeah, he got cancer, unfortunately. He was a diabetic, but that wasn't, I gave him shots twice a day, but otherwise, I mean, he could walk again. You know, was so sick he couldn't walk. And he only could walk with a brace on, but he was all right. He did the best we could.
Yeah. Was it in this house?
Yeah. We were here, but we came here in October, and we moved in here. That we bought the house in January.
You came here at a good time.
Not only this, of course, you know, me, who wasn't used in England, I mean, I lived in a hostel with all those girls, and then I was in the service. We were 12 in one room, no? So, and then I couldn't live in an apartment anymore. No, I did, but because we brought the dog with us, I couldn't find a good home for her.
Oh.
So we threw the dogs out and we drove out.
Did okay.
No, I had to give up driving because I get dizzy, you know, and things like that. But I do okay. I do the best I can.
I think you did
I'm a
very
survivor more way than one.
well. Yes. You do very well. So your husband's been gone how many years?
17 years. In January, it was 17 years already.
What year did he die?
91.
91. Not that long ago.
Yeah. I was married 43 years. I would be married over 60 now. But I still miss him.
Yeah. I can imagine.
But I think about the good times we had together, too.
That helps. You do have good memories. That's good. Okay,
We had a wonderful marriage. We were good friends. Besides being in love, we were good friends, too, and that's important.
It's good. I'm sure you took good care of him, too.
And one thing, I was lucky, he had to retire when he was 53. We stayed in New York for 2 years, but then we had to move. But we enjoyed each other, even when he was home, all you know, together here. So we saw a lot of it, you know.
What kind of work did he do?
He was a painter.
House painter.
House painter. Inside, outside, and paper hanger.
It's good.
When he came from Czechoslovakia, he didn't have a chance to go to his father didn't let him go to school.
It's okay.
He was in the army.
Yeah.
He spoke so many languages. He spoke Czech, Hungarian,
That's where he was born in Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia. It used to be Hungary. And it's, you know, and then it became, after World War I, it became Czechoslovakia. So in school they learned 2 languages. Then he spoke English, he spoke German, he spoke Russian, he spoke Polish,
Wow.
Italian, because he was stationed in Italy. And in New York, we lived in an Italian neighborhood, and a lot of people, he spoke better than they did. They came to, when we moved in, some guy came and talked to him in Italian. He answered them right back, so he didn't, then he says, I'm Jewish.
Okay, I think we did real well. I'm going to start talking about this picture.
The light didn't go on yet.
This is a picture.
This is a picture of me in my uniform as an ambulance driver. And as you can see, all the damage around it from the bombings and things.
Okay.
And the station one
Let me
was...
start again. Wait a minute.
You don't have no red light on.
The red light's on now.
No.
Huh?
No, that's what I told you before. It wasn't on all the time.
It's on now.
I don't see it.
Well, I got it, so we're recording.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You have to erase it afterwards.
Let's see.
I didn't see the red light.
Here it is, right here.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I see it. Used to see it in the thing. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. This is a picture of me as an ambulance driver. I'm standing on top of ruins in the backyard.
You see some bombing results in the backyard.
Yeah. And I was stationed in the eastern of London, which right by the docks, so which was one of the worst districts.
Okay.
They started with us first before they started anywhere else in London.
Okay. Let's do the next.
I'm in my fatigues. I cleaned up the ambulance, so it had to be clean. And you see, we had 4 people we could carry. I mean, injured people, you know, and stretchers in there. And this was a converted Ford, not like they have now, very, very simple and primitive.
But you were not wearing your helmet in this picture.
No, I was no weight on it.
But you carried in that truck.
Well, anytime we went out on a raid, these pictures were taken when there was no air raid on, so we could, you know, relax a little bit. So that's just, I cleaned my ambulance, and these are my friends who were with 12 girls in the service.
So with that truck, that ambulance truck, you picked up wounded people and dead
people.
Yeah.
And then when there was no raid, we took regular sick people.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, that's you on the right side.
Yeah.
And that's some of your friends?
And that is the girls who were with me at the ambulance service. But 12 of us at the, unit.
Okay, I got it. Now, what you can tell me about this picture?
Well, this was...
That's you. You are standing where? On the left front?
Can I look too?
Right here. Right?
Yeah, I'm standing here.
Yep.
Right here. That's a picture with some more girls and some different girls on it. Like we had...
Oh. Okay, I got that one.
It was, altogether was 12 of us.
Yeah, keep talking about that picture.
And this one is, we just, thank God there were no air raids on, otherwise we wouldn't be able to take it.
Was that the front of the truck?
That's the front of the ambulance, yeah.
What kind of a...
London Auxiliary Ambulance Service.
What kind of truck is that?
Ford. A converted Ford. That canvas, they've converted in the back to put in 4 stretchers and a canvas over on top of everything. And we had a pail in there, and we had all of what we needed to, first aid equipment.
Okay, I think we got it. I think we're all done. Okay, now talk about
I took this picture because I wanted everybody who was there on it was able to be able at that moment and have the officers on there and some of the girls. Because the other was just the girls, and this is with the officers too.
You remember all these girls?
Well, I was the second youngest in the outfit. And one of my girlfriends and the other one, she was the youngest, and she committed suicide because she couldn't take it after the war.
You mean couldn't take the job that she had to do?
Afterwards, after the war. After the war, yeah. That's what they would call now, that's what the soldiers have, the same thing. After, when you, I forget the name. What they call it?
She killed herself after
the
war.
She couldn't take it. It was too much for her, the remembrance.
All those girls look pretty much same age.
Well, some were in the 30s, some were I was the second youngest.
Second youngest.
I was the only foreigner.
So did you keep in touch with any of those?
Yeah, but I kept in touch, well, most of them are dead already. I kept in touch with the officer, and she was very nice, and I even have some of her letters still. And other girls,
Okay.
I'm in touch with girls from the hostel too, one of them especially.